Do you struggle with decluttering certain items in your life? How do you declutter when you can't let go of some things? In my journey to declutter, I have a few areas where I cling on to things and struggle to pare down. As I share with you those items in this video, I'm going to talk about my process to let go or to control the amount of these items. Welcome. I'm Maria, and if you're feeling overwhelmed and burdened and would like tips about simple living for a healthy life, then you have come to the right place. There are 5 areas that I have trouble letting go of excess. But in my quest to declutter as a way to reduce stress, I know that I needed to let go of some of these items to save my sanity. My first category is notebooks, journals, and planners. Because I love to plan and organize things and activities and ideas and information, I have a weakness for those items, especially pretty ones with cats, plants, quotes, and Bible verses. I have notebooks for different topics such as gardening and finances, and I buy one planner a year. I know there are apps for these things, but I'm old-fashioned and still prefer the paper form. However, I have heard about some of these cool planning apps, so I use both. And I am big on journaling, so that's my biggest weakness out of these 3 items. But I really don't need to have 5 extra blank books. So I do have a question for you journalers out there. What do you do with all your completed journals? I have a couple boxes of completed journals that I have kept over the years. They're up in my attic as I decide which ones to toss and which ones to keep. And if you have any suggestions for what to do with completed personal journals, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to learn from you. To keep the number of notebooks and journals down, I designate space in my drawer and shelf to keep them, and if that space is full, as it is now, I buy no more. My second category, which can easily get out of hand, is my skincare and makeup. I have a love-hate relationship with Sephora and Ulta. I go in there with one thing in mind, but come out with more items because I get so distracted and tempted. It doesn't help that I do love trying different skincare, and I'm a sucker for samples. So for this category, I had to put myself on a spending freeze because I don't need anything for a while. I guess for this category, I'm not really decluttering unless the product no longer works, is old, or I'm not going to use it. I did toss out a bunch of items based on these criteria not that long ago, and I'm using up what I have before I allow myself to purchase any more. And I do have a designated drawer for these items too, and try not to let myself go beyond the space. What I really need to do is simplify my skincare and makeup routine. So when I get to the point where I am satisfied with my system, I will share that with you. Next is books. This category is my most challenging in terms of things that I buy. I love books. My favorite thing to do as a child was to read, and all my life up to now, it still is my favorite activity. At one point, I had 5 bookcases full of books, but now I'm down to 3. I'm trying to get down to 2, but I know this can't happen until I stop teaching. I have a very hard time giving up books that I enjoy because I think I'm going to read them again, or I'm waiting for the right person to pass them on to. But that's just wishful thinking. What so far of these categories do you have trouble decluttering? Let me know in the comments below. And what do you do to keep these items under control? If this video is helping so far, please hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss anything. My fourth category was anything my kids created. From the moment they could use a crayon to draw, I kept most everything they made. Any parents out there who could relate? All those crafts from preschool, Sunday school, summer camps, elementary school, and other activities. That's a lot of stuff. Anything that had their handprint or their handwritten words of love, I felt guilty for throwing them away. So I stored them in my cabinets out in the garage. But then I thought, what am I doing? Their stuff was taking up so much space. So I took them all out and sorted through everything. I threw away anything that they didn't create. So I tossed coloring sheets, things that came from a kit that they just glued together, and anything not unique from their own imagination and talent. I took pictures of a bunch of crafts, such as some dioramas and drawings, and put those photos in scrapbooks. Then I was able to part with those creations. I kept things that had a story or had meaning, such as the first drawing that my daughter drew or the first piece of writing that she made, and same for my son. And then I was able to go from almost a whole cabinet worth of stuff to storing these things in a small box in one of my garage cabinets. Then I still had some things that I wasn't sure if my kids would want to keep. So now that they're grown, I let them sort those items and decide what they wanted. The last category is anything of sentimental value that brings back memories or has value. This category by far is the most difficult. My parents have some really meaningful items that they kept from their childhood, which have been passed on to me and my brother, and items that they accumulated over the years that bring back childhood memories. As I sorted these and looked at the space I have, I knew that I would have to part with some of these things, and I had to tell myself that these were just things. I do have fond memories of some of these mementos, such as the plate set that these bowls came from. I didn't want the whole set, so I kept these pieces, which helped me remember all the times my parents used to entertain guests and have relatives over for our many family celebrations. I also kept this intricate cork art that my dad brought back from his travels to Hong Kong, and this tiger that used to guard the shelf in our living room in the house I grew up in San Francisco. So this area is where you should give yourself the most grace, since you don't want to regret getting rid of something that you can't get back. Which of these categories do you struggle to declutter? Or share other items that you have trouble parting with in the comments below. In my journey to simple living for a healthy life, my goal in decluttering is not to be a minimalist. If it were, I would have gotten rid of so much more. But it's to get rid of things that don't have meaning or purpose, and to allow items in and keep things that do. After all, we want to own our things, not have our things own us. One verse from the Bible that reminds me about this is from Matthew 6:21. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Remember to subscribe, then watch this video next in your journey to simple living for a healthy life, and see you in the next video.